What's up, guys? It's Toad back with you Thursday, May 29th. I'm looking like a slovenly, jobless degenerate, which is what I am, or a LARPing degenerate at least. Yesterday, the picks on the show went pretty well. It's one of those days where I wish I was actually betting them because I went 4-1 on the show yesterday to redeem myself from the bad 0-4 prior day as we hit with the Florida Panthers, even though that line totally moved against it. So I did tell you that I thought that the line value wasn't really there, but I just liked Florida to get the job done in the end, and that is what happened. It was a close game, but they got it done, won the game. There was an empty netter, so it was closer than it looked. They overcame a 2-0 deficit as well, had the lead going into the third period. It was tied again, got the winning goal, and then they did put an empty netter in at the end. But congratulations to Florida, even though I'm not a fan of them, but they got it done. Congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder as well, as they are now in the finals. I thought Minnesota would put up much more of a fight in that series, by the way. We did get the under yesterday in the Minnesota-Tampa Bay baseball game. That hit well. Rasmussen had a really nice start. Lopez didn't really do that well, but the game still stayed way under with a 5-0 result. Pittsburgh Pirates, they actually exploded like late in the game against the bullpens there. Pirates were able to get it done. Paul Skeens, man, he's the man. He did well yet again. Pirates were hanging on to kind of a slim lead for a while, and then the final score, I think, wound up being 10-1 as they unloaded in the final few innings, which probably their highest run output of the season, as they're a team that only scores like 3 runs a game. They have I think they actually score fewer runs per game than the Rockies, because the Rockies can score a little bit in Coors Field. Pittsburgh, horrific offense, but they were able to get the job done yesterday against, who was that even against? I don't even remember. Who did Pittsburgh play? Milwaukee? No, my Red Sox played Milwaukee. What? Oh, Arizona, that's right, yeah. So that one hit. The under in the first 5 innings in Cincinnati, Kansas City, that was good as well. That one hit. I believe the under full game also hit. It turned into a pitching duel for the most part, so that hit. And then unfortunately, Anaheim was the one loss, which was kind of the underdog flyer, and they only lost 1-0. If you had told me that the Yankees were going to score 1 run in that game, probably would have just bet like my house on Anaheim on that one. It was worth the flyer at plus 135 or whatever. The line went up a little bit, so the run line may have been a way to go there, and that probably would have, the run line would have been a winner, so you probably would have been able to get Anaheim plus 1.5 runs at probably minus 125, maybe something in that range, which I usually don't really recommend that or don't like to do that, but in that game, it would have actually won. It would have been a win, but that was the only loss, so good 4-1 day with the only loss being kind of an underdog money line flyer, so it was the bet that had the least amount of money on it if you actually bet the way that I recommend. Okay, let's go into today. We have a really short card today. I'm going to give out a play in the hockey game, and I'm going to give out a play in baseball, and that's it. Indiana and the New York Knicks. Indiana up 3-1 as we transition back to Madison Square Garden here. Now, the question that you have to figure out in this game, it's almost similar to Game 2 in a way, where it's basically like, how are the Knicks going to react to how they lost the last game? Although the Knicks were coming off a major collapse in Game 1. What we have here is the Knicks are coming off a close loss. So actually, I guess it is more similar to kind of Game 3, where the Knicks are just kind of coming off a close loss. Indiana had a bigger lead in that game, but the Knicks made a comeback late in the game and fell just short, though. So, again, how are the Knicks going to respond to that, like, emotionally? Like, yes, they need to win this game, but is there going to be, like, too much pressure? Are they going to be feeling, like, kind of down on themselves because they thought they could have gotten at least one of these other games in the series? Pretty much every game has wound up being pretty close. And in the last game, like I said, in Game 4 in Indiana had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, and the Knicks came back and made it a game, and Indiana hung on and won the game. So how do the Knicks respond to that? That is the question. That's why I'm not going to recommend a play on this, because I don't know the answer to that. The Knicks are down from 5 to 4, so it looks like the line has been dropping. It was 4.5 a little while ago, but the line is moving against the Knicks, but it does look like they have 56% of the cash as opposed to 63% of tickets on the Pacers. So the money Looks like it is on the side of the Knicks, which I did say in the last game, I believe it was, and that didn't work out, obviously, as the Pacers won and covered in the previous game. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think we kind of have a few things going on here because the situation might not actually be the best for the Knicks, even though they're back at home. They do need to win this game. They are coming off a loss and might have some adjustments to make. But this line is fairly short. Like, this is the shortest line you're going to get on the Knicks at home in this entire series, I would have to imagine. They were 4.5 in game one. I think it was up to 5.5. And then game two, they were 6. So there is potentially some line value on the side of the Knicks. But you got to gauge the situation. It does look like the under is getting money as well. Total down from 223.5 to 222.5. 78% of the tickets are on the over, but 56% of the cash on the under. And like I said, probably multiple times, is that I do think the Knicks and the under are also correlated because the Pacers, if the game's high scoring, it favors the Pacers. The Pacers have won all the high scoring games in the series. The lowest scoring game was the one that the Knicks won. So the Knicks, they've been too complacent in letting the Pacers dictate the pace because the Knicks will sometimes just be okay with playing fast, which they shouldn't be in this series because that's the Pacers game. The Knicks, if they're going to be able to win a game, they got to slow it down. That's what they need to do. So I think if you like the Knicks side, you probably also like the under. If you like the Pacers, you probably like the over. And I don't know which way it's going to go in this game, man. The market read, as I said, the cash percentage is on the Knicks, but that was the case in the previous game. It was the case with the T-Wolves last night as well, and neither of those worked out. So take from all of that what you will. One other thing I will point out, though, is that the Knicks did have a ton of free throw attempts in that last game, and they still lost the game. So that's not really a good sign. But Halliburton also went completely off. So, I mean, he had the best game of his career, triple-double, almost a triple-double in the first half. But I wouldn't be looking to fade Halliburton props, even though I preach the zigzag when it comes to props. Basically, if you have a guy who's not a star player have an unexpectedly really great game, you can look to go under with some of their props in the next game. If you get a star who has a bad game, you can look to go over with his stuff. But I don't think you ever really want to go under with a star like Halliburton because this is a playoff game, and the Pacers are going to need their best players to do well if they're going to win the game. So even though Halliburton had an extremely good game and probably will not replicate that, I still don't think I would risk going under with any of his props. All right, NHL, I am going to give out a play on the Dallas Stars. I think it's time. Dallas is down 3-1. They're back at home, where I think this series does have a significant home ice advantage, as I pointed out already. Dallas, the only game they did win was one of the home games. I think it was game 1. I think they're actually up 1-0 in the series, and now they've lost 3 straight games. I was on Edmonton in game 2 on the show. Unfortunately, I recommended Dallas as a play in the next game, and they got wiped, and then I just stayed away from the next game, and now Dallas has lost 3 games in a row in embarrassing fashion, losing 3-0, 6-1, and 4-1. So they've lost by a combined 13-2 in the last 3 games, coming off back-to-back or 3 straight embarrassing losses, coming back home, and the last time they were on their home ice here, they got shut out, as I just pointed out, 3-0. So I think those are extreme motivated conditions, man. When you have a team in the playoffs in NBA or NHL, if they're coming off a couple of real ugly losses, coming back home, and the last time they were at home, they also had a really bad game, they tend to put in a really, really good effort. So I'm expecting Dallas's biggest effort here. I'm expecting a really good game from them for once. I know their backs are against the wall, which sometimes can be pressure, but you're not really laying a huge price for them. I think this price is around the same as it was in the first game of the series. The money is coming in on Dallas up from -120 to -129, 57% of tickets, 74% of the cash. So the cash is coming in on the Dallas side. And I have pointed out that some of these losses were kind of misleading. I mean, the 3-0 game was even in shots, although Edmonton was the more physical team, which that's kind of been the case throughout the series. Edmonton has had the physicality, but Dallas has been better at possessing the puck and has had more shots for the most part. So the shot disparity was the same in that game. In game 2, in the games in Edmonton, which look like blowouts, statistically they didn't quite play that way. Dallas won the shot battle in game 3. won the face-off battle. And then in the last game, I think they did lose those battles, but it wasn't really that much of an outlier, I don't think. Yeah, the shots are actually close. Again, Edmonton was the more physical team, but Dallas also won way more face-offs. So Dallas, I mean, usually I do like the more physical team, but I think Dallas is going to be able to get it done for once in this game, man. I mean, they're back at home. Again, I still don't really see Edmonton as a very defensive team, even though they are playing with physicality. I think that their goaltending has been better than it usually is, so I think there is room for some regression there. Dallas's goaltending has been worse than it usually is, so I think there is room for some progression there. And I know I said that when I took Dallas on the show here, I recommended them as a play in whatever it was, game 3, and it didn't happen. But I think this is a spot where Dallas will get the win there. So that is where I'm going to go with that. My playoff hockey has been pretty good, so hopefully it continues. It's been pretty good in the Dallas games as well, although in this series I'm only 1-1 in the recommended plays. Okay. And by the way, as I continue to point out, I'm not actually betting these plays right now. I'm trying to conserve some money, but I am recommending these plays if I was betting them. I was wrong about the Indiana Fever last night in the WNBA. They're definitely missing Caitlin Clark, but I thought they would potentially step it up for that first game without her yesterday. But the issue I had was Indiana was coming off that blown game against the New York Liberty, so I didn't love the spot. Now, I don't love either of these spots that much, but I will say the Liberty, they're coming off smashing Golden State after that big win over Indiana. They crushed Golden State by 28 points. Totally embarrassing. 95-67 as 18.5-point favorites, though, as they are way better than Golden State, as Golden State's one of the worst teams in the league. New York is still probably the best team in the league. But now they turn around and they play Golden State again right away. So it is kind of one of those zigzag scenarios where you probably expect that it's not going to be as lopsided a result this time, and the Liberty might take them a little bit easily. They don't have a huge, or take them lightly, I should say. Liberty don't have a huge game up next. They play Washington. So if they had a bigger opponent up next, it would also be like a major look ahead. But if you look at the previous game, the Liberty shot 50% from the field, 40% from three-point range. Golden State had an unbelievable amount of turnovers with 23, -10 in turnovers. They only shot 33.9% from the field, which was lower than the three-point percentage. So there is room for some progression here where you got to expect the Liberty probably are not going to take this next game as seriously after they just wrecked Golden State. They probably won't shoot as well here, and Golden State will probably shoot a little bit better. So I expect this game to be a little bit closer than that game was. So I would lean to taking the points with Golden State, but I don't really want to get involved in a complete mismatch like this. The line is almost the same. It was 18.5 in the first game a couple days ago here. Now it's 17.5. The Liberty down from 18 to 17.5 with juice. So you're not losing that much line value if you do like the Valkyries there. I don't know why pregame has their full name there where it just has the city name for the other teams, but whatever. So I would lean to taking the points there with Golden State in the zigzag. Dallas finally got their first win of the season with their new look team there with Buckers. She returned to the state of Connecticut where she played college, and they beat probably the worst team in the league, the Connecticut Sun, who are so bad that Dallas was a favorite on the road against them. And I believe one of their best players, I believe, is now on Atlanta. I think one of the best players from Connecticut. I don't even know. I don't follow it. But Connecticut, they had a good team, and now I think some of their best players are just gone from that team. Anyway, Dallas got the win. Not a very impressive win, and what that does is it kind of gets that monkey off their back where it's like, oh man, we haven't won a game yet. Now they've won a game. They might be starting to build some chemistry, so they might be in a little bit of a better position here. And Chicago, even though they have Angel Reese, she's not very good, to be honest, man. She's good at rebounding. She's terrible at shooting. Dallas is so... Chicago is so bad that Dallas is actually favored against them on the road here, which is insane. They're a -2.5-point favorite, it looks like. Chicago coming off kind of a close game against the Phoenix Mercury, where Chicago actually blew the game. They're winning most of this game as 7.5-point underdogs on the road at Phoenix, and they lost right near the end of the game. So when you play a really tough game like that against a pretty good opponent, and you play them really close like that, and you have the lead, you have them on the ropes, and then you blow it right at the end and you lose, I don't think that's a great scenario, so I do actually lean to Dallas in this game, but the line has dropped from 2.5 to now 1.5 with juice. So it looks like the line movement is actually kind of against that. So I will not recommend a play on the game, but I would lean to Dallas because Chicago's coming off that really tough game and loss where they looked like they should have had the upset win. And Dallas at least might have some momentum now after they finally got their first win of the season. But Dallas is still going through those growing pains. So it's a little bit difficult to gauge. And then MLB, we only have, I think, 5 games today. And that's only because we have a doubleheader where Atlanta and Philadelphia didn't play yesterday. They got rained out. So yesterday, I talked about the game yesterday, which was going to be Smith-Shawver against Wheeler. And now they're both pitching still today, but Smith-Shawver is going to pitch in the afternoon game, and Wheeler is going to pitch in the evening game now. So they don't match up against each other now. And that's going to set up, I'm going to recommend a play on the first game of the doubleheader. And even though the teams didn't play yesterday, so that does mean the bullpens are rested, I still don't think Philadelphia's bullpen is that good, even though they've been performing a little bit better recently. I'm going to give out a play on the over in game 1 of Atlanta-Philadelphia, and that's going to be the only baseball play I give out here. The market read looks like it's on it, as we see it's 8.5 juice to the under, 8.5, a little bit less juice to the under now. We see 70% of tickets on the under, so it looks like the public is actually on the under, maybe because they really like Christopher Sanchez, and yeah, he is having a really good season, but I'll talk about him in a minute. 83% of the cash is on the over, though, and I'm going to go with it. I'm going to agree with the over here, as we do have 2 teams that can hit, as Atlanta at least does have Acuna back now, so they can hit a little bit better than they have been, and they have been hitting better as the season progresses. Smith-Shawver on the mound, I just don't think he's in the best form, man. And his 3.67 ERA is misleading, in my opinion, because right now he has a 1.42 whip. So he's putting way too many men on base, and he's not in good form right now, man. He's coming off a game against Washington where he gave up 7 earned runs in 3 innings, walked 3 guys, and only struck out 1. And over this entire month, even though he has a 3.18 ERA, he has a 19-11 strikeout walk ratio. So he's walking too many guys. He's walked at least 2 in every start in the month of May. None of that is good. And yes, maybe you could kind of give him a pass because he had just faced Washington the game before that. So when a pitcher does well against a team the first time out, a lot of times that team's lineup, they'll be now familiarized with that pitcher and they'll adjust and they'll hit that pitcher a lot better in the next game. That, to some degree, is what happened there. But I would say that Shawver, he's just not in good form right now after he pitched a game like that. I don't love it. And up against the Phillies, his numbers are mediocre. Small sample size of 11. I pointed this out yesterday, but he's allowed 3 home runs to Castellanos, Marsh, and Turner. 273 average allowed isn't too bad, but a 1,424 OPS, not great. So the Phillies, in that small sample size, were not fooled by Smith-Shawver, and they were able to hit him. So I'm not sure that he's going to have a great game here. And Christopher Sanchez, I know he's been having a really good season, a 3.17 ERA. 1.26 whip, though, is a little bit high. So Sanchez is also a guy that has too much wildness. And as you can see here, it's kind of been cropping up again, as in the month of May. Yeah, he does have a 26-9 strikeout walk ratio, but that is kind of a lot of walks. And if you take out his start against Colorado, even though, yeah, it was impressive to have a good start in Coors Field, if you take that start out, he's walked 9 guys over the other 3 starts, which is not a great sign. He's been wild. And in his last start, granted, yes, it was also at a bad pitching park. It was at a hitter-friendly park in Sacramento there against the A's. He didn't even go 5 innings in the game. He walked 3 guys. He gave up 7 hits. Yes, his strikeout numbers have been really high, but he's been wild, putting too many men on base. And I think at some point that comes back to bite you a little bit, even though I know he hasn't allowed more than 4 earned runs in any start this season. But he's faced a lot of weak offenses, man. The best offenses that he's faced this season were the Mets, and he only lasted 2 innings in that game and allowed 2 runs and threw 58 pitches. So it might have been a rain-shortened game or something like that where the pitchers had to come out early, but he didn't do well in the game, and he walked 2 guys and gave up 4 hits as well. And against the Dodgers, the game where he allowed 4 runs. He did have 9 strikeouts, which is good, but he only went 5 2/3 in that game, threw 88 pitches, so he wasn't efficient there either. The Braves probably are going to be the third best offense that he's faced this season, man, behind the Dodgers and the Mets. And up against the Braves, he actually does not have good numbers in his career. In 68 at-bats, he's given up 5 home runs to them. So if you want a player prop potential, Acuna, who's back in the lineup now, is 3 for 6 with a home run off him. Olsen is 4 for 12 with 2 home runs. Riley, 3 for 6 with a home run. And Ozuna, 4 for 10. So this Braves lineup, they got some guys that can hit, and many of them actually hit Sanchez well. So Sanchez historically has not done well against the Braves. 338 average allowed and 978 OPS. So I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to go with an over here. And if it gets into the bullpens, both teams have kind of mediocre bullpens. I would say Philadelphia's bullpen is still kind of less than mediocre, even with, I think I pointed out, I believe their closer is actually suspended for performance-enhancing drugs as well. So the over in the afternoon game between Atlanta and Philadelphia is the recommendation there. Andrew, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. The second game, which is actually before the rest of the games, it's crazy that we're going to have both games of a doubleheader start before any of the other MLB games on the schedule. The second game, Zach Wheeler has been bumped to the second game, maybe just because we want the pitching matchup here. It's going to be Zach Wheeler against Chris Sale. To be honest, if I was Philadelphia, I would have just left Wheeler pitching the afternoon game, I would think, because I think that gives you just a way bigger chance to just win that first game. And then in the second game, yeah, maybe you'll lose the second game. But if you want to give yourself a chance to make sure that you at least win one of these 2 games, that's probably what I would do. Because now what you're looking at is, well, the Phillies probably think, well, we could put Sanchez here, and he's still better than Smith-Shawver. But I'm not sure that's going to be the case there. So I think Philly is setting themselves up for a couple of close calls here, to be honest. We'll see what happens. But now we got what looks like it's going to be a pitching duel in the second game between Sale and Wheeler. Sale has started pitching really well again, which I think we all expected. 3.36 ERAs, 1.28 whip is still high, but over the last few games, he's been really, really good. This month, he has a 32-7 strikeout walk ratio, fewer than 1 hit per inning as well, and a 1.37 ERA. He's coming off back-to-back 7-inning, 1-run performances with a 14-3 strikeout walk ratio. So Sale is back, I would say. He's doing well. And yes, he already did face Philly once this year, and he didn't do that well in the game, giving up 5 earned runs on 9 hits. But that was early in the season, and Sale was still kind of struggling then. He did have a 5-0 strikeout walk ratio in that game, so he actually still had command in that game. Looks like he just put too many pitches over the plate. And now he's kind of figuring it out again. And Sale typically is not that bad against Philadelphia. And 101 at-bats, he has a 40-3 strikeout walk ratio, which is insane. Against Castellanos, he has a 19-2 strikeout walk ratio. Even though Castellanos has done okay, 12 for 46 off him, but the strikeout rate is insane. Sale has held him to a 257 average and 705 OPS. So not terrific numbers, but good numbers for Sale. And he may bounce back after that bad performance, because I don't think it's a situation where you're going to say, oh, Philadelphia is now familiar with Sale. No, they already were familiar with him, and he usually does pretty well against them. So I think he's in better form now. He should bounce back and have a better start than that other one was. Zach Wheeler, I mean, he's been pitching well all season. 2.42 ERA. I mean, I talked about him yesterday because he was supposed to start yesterday. 0.88 whip, a 31-5 strikeout walk ratio in the month of May with fewer than 1 hit every 2 innings this month. Philly has won the last 5 games in a row that he started, and they won 6 of the last 7. He has a .68 ERA this month. Obviously, he's in good form as well. He's one of the top pitchers in baseball, really. And against the Braves, good numbers in his career, a huge 291 at-bat sample size. I pointed this out yesterday. 12 home runs is kind of a lot, but 91-12 strikeout walk ratio, 206 average allowed, 632 OPS, and none of these guys really even hit him that well. I mean, Acuna has the best numbers probably, and he still only hits 255 against them, and he's got the 4 home runs off him, but he is only 13 for 51 with 12 Ks, so a lot of strikeouts in here. Ozuna has struck out 25 times against him in 62 at-bats, just a crazy amount of strikeouts, and again, yeah, 206 average allowed, 632 OPS, so the lean would probably be to the under in that second game, expecting more of a pitching duel. The total's low for a reason. It's 7.5. It looks like some money's coming in on the under at that point. Philadelphia is a bigger favorite in the first game because the odds makers don't trust Smith-Shawver, but the money looks like it's kind of coming in against Sanchez. Maybe because they actually think Sanchez won't pitch as well as people think here. Line down from -138 to -132 in that first game with 74% of tickets, 69% of the cash on Philly. Philly is going to be the public team here because they have the better record, but Atlanta, as I keep pointing out, is better than their record would indicate, even though they did lose the first game of the series, which I thought was a good spot to play Atlanta. In the second game, 82% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Philly. They're a lower -118 favorite, but I think Philly probably has a better chance to win the second game than the first game, to be honest, because Wheeler is so good that he might actually be able to just outpitch Sale here. Wheeler in somewhat better form and younger than Sale at this point, and has the better matchup numbers to some extent. But I think the under is probably the way to look more so in that second game. The other three games, we got Toronto returning home from a road trip. And I always point out that when a team returns home from a road trip, a lot of times they can be distracted because they're getting back to family life. Toronto didn't have a great road trip. They went 2-4 down in Tampa Bay and then in Texas. But a lot of times teams won't bounce back from, a not very good road trip again, because if they're not facing an opponent that's really going to draw their attention, which the A's may not because they're not a great team, Toronto may be a bit distracted, getting back to family life, might not totally pay attention here. And the A's are coming in from Houston after losing 2 straight games in Houston, one of them pretty embarrassingly, 11-1. So the A's might be coming in happy to get out of Houston and maybe a little bit angry here and more focused to try to win this game. The pitching matchup is hard to gauge, though, because Jacob Lopez is pitching for the A's, and he's typically been a relief pitcher, but he came out and he threw a 7-inning, 1-run, 8 strikeout, 1-walk game, and the only run was a solo home run. He only had 3 hits against a good Philadelphia lineup in that ridiculous A's hitting park. So how do you gauge this? When you have a guy like Lopez, don't know much about him. He comes out of the bullpen most of the season, and then he makes this one start, and he lasts 7 innings and does that to a really good offense in a bad pitching environment, no less. Does that mean Lopez is actually somebody we should be looking at? Is he actually good, or was that a fluke? I don't know, because in his previous outing, he was terrible. In 2 2/3 against Texas, he gave up 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks. The strikeout rate was there. His strikeout rate has been there this season with more than 1 strikeout per inning, but he's walked way too many guys. More than 1 every 2 innings. And 1 hit per inning. So his whip is terrible, 1.57, putting more than 1.5 guys on base per inning. But a 2.57 ERA looks good, but that doesn't mean that he's kind of getting away with some things. But again, that start was really good against Philadelphia. So what do we expect here? He's actually stepping down in class, facing an offense that isn't as good as Philadelphia's. With Houston, I don't know what to expect here. And Rogers is the only Houston hitter who's ever seen him before, and he's 0 for 1 off him. So what do we expect from Lopez? I have no idea, to be honest. Barrios obviously is the more gaugeable pitcher, I guess, if you want to call it that. But he's pitching below his standards this year, man. I expect him to start pitching better than this because he is better than what his numbers are right now. 4.22 ERA, 1.36 whip is really bad. He's putting too many men on base. Last couple of starts have been okay for him, though, with a 7-2 strikeout walk ratio, 12 innings pitched. 11 hits allowed him, 5 earned runs. That's not too bad. 1 against Detroit, who is pretty good, and 1 against Tampa Bay, who doesn't really hit that well. So Barrios, maybe he's coming into form a little bit here. Toronto really has not done well behind him recently, though. Toronto has lost the last 4 starts that he's made, which is not very good. Barrios up against, who are we talking about here? Toronto? Oh, no, he's on Toronto. What am I saying? Barrios up against the A's, has done well in the past. 39 at-bats, 14-1 strikeout walk ratio, 179 average, 508 OPS. Butler does have 1 home run off him, but Barrios has really good numbers against the A's. And taking the A's out of their hitter-friendly environment here might hurt their offense a little bit, even though the A's have actually been worse at home, but it's because their pitching has been so bad at home. So what do we expect in this game? I honestly have no idea. The money's coming in on Toronto. They're up from -140 to -165. 71% of tickets, 94% of the cash. So the money is coming in on the Toronto side. Barrios, again, I expect him to start pitching better. And it might start here because, well, it might have already started, but he does have really good numbers against these A's hitters in the past. So Lopez is a complete wild card, complete question mark, and is probably not as good as he looked in that one game. Although he is in good form based on that one game, but I don't know how much you could really take away from one game like that from a pitcher who is really an unknown, has been a relief pitcher, but Toronto's offense not familiar with him really. So I think the under actually might be potentially worth a look in the game as well, as you've seen it go from 8.5 juice to the over down to just 8.5, but 54% of tickets, 80% of the cash on the over. I wouldn't agree with that. I would look towards the under potentially in that game, but I don't want anything to do with it. Tampa is playing at Houston. Houston's staying at home off of the 2-game sweep of the A's. Tampa is coming in, I believe, from home. Yeah, so Tampa starting a road trip. Usually you are focused when you start a road trip for Tampa here. Shane Baz is on the mound for Tampa. He has not been pitching very well as of late. He started out the season really good, and now recently he has not been doing well. 4.94 ERA, 1.39 whip. Those are bad numbers. This month he has a 16-13 strikeout walk ratio and 7.82 ERA. That's not good. He just came off a start where he only allowed 1 run to Toronto on a solo home run, but he still walked 3 guys in that game, which is still not a good sign. So I don't think Baz is in very good form right now. Up against Houston, what do we got here? Against Houston, his numbers are actually pretty good, though, in 34 at-bats, 206 average, 574 OPS. So Baz, will he start kind of returning to form here? Who knows? And Houston has Ryan Gusto on the mound, who has been in and out of the bullpen, basically. He's made some opener starts. He's actually gone 5 innings a couple of times as well. He's made some relief appearances. He's been kind of all over the map. But this month, he has not been good with 9 strikeouts to 10 walks. That's not good. A 9.72 ERA this month is really not good. His stats on the season, not good. 4.58 ERA, 1.53 whip is really bad, putting way too many men on base. Against Tampa, they have actually never seen Gusto before. We don't even know how long Gusto's going to go in the game. I mean, he'll go at most, I would expect, 5 innings in this game. So, possible Tampa is worth a look there because I think you at least get the starter who probably gets you deeper into the game with Baz, maybe. But the way he's been pitching, you never even really know. But his numbers against Houston are actually good. And even though Gusto hasn't been seen before by Tampa, I don't think we could trust him, and I don't think he's going to go that deep in the game. The line is down from -120 to -110 on Houston. 55% of tickets, 61% of the cash on Houston. Houston not getting a whole lot of respect right now, but part of it is because Gusto is the starter, so he's not getting a lot of respect. Houston getting some of the cash percentage there, but the line moving against them. Do with that info what you will, and then Seattle still staying at home against Washington as they complete their series today, I guess, continuing that series. Seattle lost 9-0 yesterday, which is just ugly. George Kirby, he is still not back for Seattle. He gave up 6 runs yesterday or something like that. Trevor Williams somehow didn't allow anything, even though he is not a very good pitcher. So Seattle probably a little bit angry and wanting to bounce back here, but they are having to face Mackenzie Gore, who overall is a pretty good pitcher. 3.47 ERA, 1.25 whip, though. Again, it's too high. I point out this guy, he throws really, really hard, and he strikes a lot of guys out. He gets a ton of strikeouts, but he also throws he gives a ton of free passes. He's one of those kind of typical really hard throwers who's also really, really wild. Gives up a lot of walks. This month, he's thrown 21 1/3 innings pitched, and he has 34 strikeouts, which is an insane strikeout rate, but 12 walks, which is way too high of a walk rate, and 21 hits as well, which isn't that great yet because he throws so hard and gets so many strikeouts. He's allowed 1, 4, 2, and 1 earned runs in each of those starts. The 2 was actually a really bad start for the most part because he gave up 10 hits to Baltimore, even though he also struck out 9 in 3 2/3 innings. Just really, really ridiculous numbers. And in that case, I mean ridiculous just because it's both bad and good. I mean, the strikeout rate was crazy high, but the hit rate was crazy high too. You usually do not see that. When you're making guys miss with strikeouts, you're usually also not allowing hits. But I think it's just because he throws so hard that if he throws a hard fastball right over the plate, it gets jacked. Although he didn't allow home runs in that game, but still. I don't know what we're going to get out of Gore, to be honest, man. I mean, he has one of the highest strikeout rates in the league, maybe the highest, but he walks too many guys. We'll see what we get out of him here. Against Seattle, his numbers are good in the past, and 24 at-bats, not a huge sample size. Crawford is 2 for 3 with a home run off him. Overall, he has a 208 average against them, 603 OPS. So Gore overall does have good numbers against Seattle. He's pitching in a pitcher-friendly park here. He's up against Emerson Hancock, who... Is Hancock starting to pitch better? Maybe. His stats on the season certainly are bad. 5.95 ERA, 1.65 whip. He's a young guy trying to find his way. He had a 4 2/3 inning, 1-run performance against San Diego, which he was very inefficient with his pitches in that game, threw 88 pitches and had to be pulled. But then in his most recent start, he went 6 innings, 3 earned runs allowed, 3 strikeouts, no walks against Houston. That's not bad. I mean, he's not really a strikeout pitcher, but if he stops allowing hits, I mean, that's really been his problem. He's allowing way too many hits. He's been way too hittable. His worst start was his first start of the season, though, and actually, since that start, his only other start where he allowed more than 3 earned runs was a start against the Yankees, and we know the Yankees can hit. So other than that, he's actually limited the damage quite a bit. So Hancock might actually be a guy that you don't always want to fade. Washington has basically never seen Hancock before as well, which when you have these young pitchers, if they have good stuff, although the jury is still out on whether or not Hancock does, if he does, he could have a little bit of an edge against these hitters who haven't seen him before, although Lowe is 2 for 5 off him with an RBI, so Lowe has hit him okay with no strikeouts and no walks. We will see. So I think Seattle, they are going to be in probably an angry mood after the loss yesterday, and the money is actually coming in on Seattle and actually fading Gore, up from minus 115 to minus 117, 57% of tickets, 87% of the cash coming in on Seattle. I'm not sure I would quite leap to that, but it is possible that Gore doesn't have as big of an advantage over Hancock as it would look based on like their ERAs and whatever, because Gore is too wild and Hancock is just an unknown to Washington. So it's possible that maybe the game kind of stays within reach for Seattle there. And if it does, Seattle does have a bullpen advantage. They have the better bullpen significantly over Washington, whose bullpen is not good. And neither team really has a great offense either. So that's kind of a wash. Maybe even you have to give the edge to Seattle slightly with the bats. So we'll see what happens. The total is actually dropped down to 7.5. 74% of tickets on the over, 76% of the cash on the over. But the odds makers lining this like it's actually going to be a pitching duel, which is kind of insane to see that with Hancock. Like, is Hancock actually getting some respect in the market now? Maybe. So that's going to do it, man. A short show today. Still kind of a long show, actually, with only 5 baseball games to talk about. Get super autistic about it. My plays one more time today that I'm recommending on the show are the Dallas Stars to stay alive and get the win. Kind of a short money line price there. And an over in the first game between Atlanta and Philadelphia in baseball, which is Smith-Shawver versus Sanchez. That game. Specify starters must start the game. I think if you want to make these baseball plays, a lot of weight goes to the starting pitchers, man. So you want to make the play. Make sure that the bet only counts if those starters actually wind up starting. So you want to do that. You can actually specify otherwise, which is called action, I think, which means that the action counts regardless of who starts. So you can do that as well if you really want to. But when most of these handicaps are so based on the starting pitching matchup, you want to specify starters must start this game. Like the listed starters must start. All right, so that's going to do it. Tower Gang Toad on Twitter. GiveSendGo.com/TowerGangToad. I might be taking that down today at some point, so we will see. Thanks for the support, guys. You want to still support my fundraiser to get me through here. Tower Game Podcast, we had a long episode yesterday. We had a long post show yesterday, so subscribe to the Patreon. You'll get extra content there. Patreon.com/TowerGang. The post show was insane. We had one really, really ridiculous riff during the post show that was probably the funniest part of the show last night, in my opinion. Excuse me. So go check that out. And get Bohemian Grove tickets, assuming that it's still happening. If you watched Tower Gang last night, we talked about how there were people trying to shut it down because they don't like Owen Benjamin. So we'll see what happens. I think it's still likely to happen. And get your tickets anyway, because if it doesn't happen, you'll get refunded. So get the tickets. Show up if it's still happening in late June in Leesburg, Florida. That's going to do it. Have a good day. I think that's it. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Peace.